You're listening to UnitedWeStrike.com radio. Don't buy, don't comply. Ask why. UnitedWeStrike.com radio.
Thank you folks very much for tuning in today to the second United We Strike radio marathon broadcast of 2011. Now, we just said goodbye to Bonnie and Cindy from Under the Weather, and they mentioned some of their friends who are going to be hosting now on their show called The Transformation Chronicles. We have Mindy and Dr. Paul Marko. Welcome to the show. Mindy, how are you?
I'm doing great, Karen. It's so nice to be here with you all today, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to join you.
Yeah, I'm here too. And thanks to the musicians that voluntarily gave their music to us to use for this event. We're going to move forward.
I'm sorry, I just was going to say. The musicians were Poker Face, Richard Thomas, Adrian Shaw, and also Woodrose with Kate's lyrics. And now, welcome to the program. I'm going to sit back here and listen and probably pop back in later.
Right. Part of the program today, and actually it should be every week for the Transformation Chronicles, since the idea of the show is to chronicle the amazing transformation that's going to happen, or that already is happening, on the planet. And to try to kind of lighten the mood a little bit. I mean, the horrible things we've been hearing about all day, yes, they are occurring, but they're being balanced by some other good things that you'd never really hear about. So anyway, we were assigned to talk about good things that are happening. And, good things is always a matter of perception, how you perceive what's going on around you. I remember a long time ago during Hurricane Andrew when it hit Florida, I was listening to NPR, and they had interviewed a few couples in Florida, about the devastation that they had undergone through Andrew, and, there was a lot of crying, and this is horrible, and I've lost my whole life. But amazingly, what was going on at the same time in Bangladesh was a similar hurricane. I don't know whether they call them hurricanes over there, but it had killed a lot more people than Andrew did. And they started interviewing people over there, and the first guy they interviewed, he was expressing how happy he was. Although he had lost two of his children in the hurricane, in the flooding, at least he had his life, his wife, other children, and they were just really happy to be alive. So they were taking the same event and looking at it differently. So anyway, I think the things that we found for this week are really encouraging and really had me, actually I got into this information Thursday night and I could hardly sleep that night. After watching a particular video that Bonnie Hogan sent us. Do you want to tell about it?
That's right, yeah. Bonnie had sent an email with a link to this video suggesting that we might find it interesting. And it was so heartening because it was a film made by three very young men called The Collective Evolution. And we were left with such, what would you say, Paul? Almost elation at the fact that this was a beautiful example of how the young people are coming in, they're arriving, and they are here knowing from a so much higher perspective what is going on in the world and what we need to do about it, and kind of leading the way.
Right. I was watching these, I can't call them anything but kids, hardly in their bodies, coming across with very deep wisdom. In my work as a psychologist, dealing with consciousness, we learn to be able to tell someone's, what can I say, consciousness expansion level, the inclusiveness of how they conceptualize their self. And these individuals were incredibly expanded consciousness souls. And at the end of the video, I just wanted to sit there and call them and say, "Where have you been? We've been waiting for you." And these guys have devoted themselves to the elevation of consciousness on the planet. And here they come, and here they go. What do you think?
I went to find out more about these men. Here's their names: Joe Martino, Matthew Christodoulou. I'm sorry, Matthew, I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. And Mark DeNicolo. And I looked at their website, and I was equally impressed with what they said. The website is collective-evolution.com. And just in the
So, hello. So we are having you. Yeah, Karen, you are there.
I'm here, but it sounds like they dropped out. So it looks like
we lost Mindy and Paul for the moment. So we're trying to get them back, obviously. So it was a little noisy in the background. So that's what's happening if you're going on live. But Karen, as you are on, why don't you step in and tell us what your plans are for our huge massive strike on April 15 to 17? Maybe that's worthwhile to talk.
I am not going to be spending any money whatsoever in corporations. I'm not going to be spending any money for those 3 days, and hopefully longer than that. I really want to see just what we can do to show some solidarity with all of us, because the Egyptians have proven that peacefully they can make a difference. Now, it wasn't all peaceful. Unfortunately, there are those factions out there who still are in control, and we have to be very careful to see what they end up with, because it's not... nothing in politics happens by accident. And so when we really understand that, then we have to look very carefully at what we think are just happenstance. And in this case, I believe that the majority of the people who showed up were true, authentic, genuine people who had that spirit of freedom within them. But you can be manipulated, and right now, we'll have to keep a close eye on that. But at least we see the spirit of freedom rising in all parts of the world. People are starting to understand that we are equal. People are not better than we are. We are equal. And the more that we recognize that equality, and then when we look to our government officials and we see the inequality and the palaces and the servants and the Queen wanting to heat Buckingham Palace with a poverty fund. Well, people would not be poor if there weren't excessive taxes, if there weren't federal banking schemes, and if the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and the Morgans and the Queen and the Illuminati, I liked how Anthony Hilder called them the Illuminati, if they had not been messing with us for centuries. So we really do have to pay attention to that. We've got to start understanding that money is a value that we give. You know, we cannot have them tell us what our money's worth and devalue it and make us work for months and months at a time to pay their bills. Now, Detlev, possibly what we should do right now is go to some music here, and we'll see if we can find Paul and Mindy from behind the scenes.
Oh, sure.
Folks, we are... Yeah, I think that would be good. And
yeah. Okay, so stay tuned. We will have a little break here, and we will be right back. So stay tuned.
You're listening to UnitedWeStrike.com radio. Don't buy, don't comply. That's why. UnitedWeStrike.com radio.
Here we go. United We Strike Radio Marathon. We are back. Now, you will be wondrous why we had to interrupt here with Mindy and Paul, but we lost connection. This happens. This is life. And we are on United We Strike Radio Marathon now with Matt. Matt, are you there?
How you doing, Detlev? Yeah, this is Matt Navarro. I'm also a member of UnitedWeStrike.com. I will be hosting a segment at 4 o'clock p.m. Pacific called the New World Odor Report later on this afternoon, and my guests will be Michael Shaw, John Bush, and Catherine Bleich, and we'll be focusing on Agenda 21. Detlev, thanks for what you did earlier this morning. That was a great interview you'd had with Ted Gunderson and Anthony J. Hilder.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many people who are so important. And one thing which is striking as well is that we have lots of artists, musicians and so forth who are donating their music to us because, we are not a commercial entity. We're not a commercial radio station. We do not earn any money from advertising or anything else. So we are dependent on people who are donating their artwork and their music to us. And I do want to thank you for your Bluetooth music, which just ran during the break. So thanks again to you, Matt.
Well, you're welcome. Now, that's a little song I recorded a few years back. And, I'm glad we were able to use it. Right. So the musicians that we get donated music from, and we, ask that you send it to us at UnitedWeStrike.com. You can go through the tax-free 15 link and send it to us. We'd like to get your written permission via email saying we can use it, and we'll go ahead and showcase the music as we get them on our shows.
Yeah, Matt, now, many listeners we have may be tuning in the first time. And although we had great guests on with fantastic topics and with a lot of information also on the New World Order, why don't you explain to us what the mission of our United We Strike initiative is?
Okay, basically we're trying to unite the world every month, on the 15th of every month, kind of as a reminder for everyone that they can show their their lack of wanting to participate in the globalist system that enslaves us by not buying from the big corporations on that day. Go to your mom and pop stores if you have them. Shop local. Buy from local farmers. Try to buy organic and support the organic farmers. That kind of thing. And don't comply with the rules that enslave us. And ask why. Why is this happening? And hopefully through this, once a month participation in this resistance against the New World Order, we build a mindset among people that will start raising their consciousness towards resisting the New World Order. Because and we're trying to do this on a global scale because the New World Order affects everyone throughout the globe, whether they realize it or not. So we encourage everyone to go out and educate themselves and educate everyone they know. Just plant a seed into their mind of what's going on, and at some point they'll look up in the sky and go, yeah, those are not jet contrails, those are chemtrails, just like Matt was saying. And what we're calling for on this April 15th is something very special. I'll give you a little background here. Last year, Karen Tostado started calling up some radio stations and, suggesting we boycott somehow. And I think it was Michael Rivero that put a bug in her brain that said, yeah, we need to pick a date and have a big boycott. So that's what happened out of the taxfree15.com movement. We called for a national strike on April 15th last year. Everybody went out, put out flyers. They put signs on the back of their trucks. Kind of like the Alex Jones V for Victory poster campaign. We had a lot of YouTubes, and people really responded well to the national strike. And so this year we got together with great folks like Rick in the UK and Jane, who you heard earlier, and Detlev and Charles Irwin, who won't be able to make it today. And United We Strike was formed, and with just a small group of volunteers. And this year, we're encouraging everyone to for an international strike, just like we saw last year with with Cash315.com. We've got a few months to promote this, and we encourage everybody to go out and tell everybody to stay home from work that day, keep the kids home from school, take a day off, listen to UnitedWeStrike.com radio, because we're going to be, I'm sure, having some fantastic guests, and we always have some of the best guests. And so for our international strike, we're trying to build a coalition. And all we have to do is look at Egypt and look at the desire of the people to be free as an example of how this spirit is growing worldwide. And everybody you talk to can sense this, or everybody who is awake. Now, the ones that aren't awake, it's our job to go wake them up. But everybody can sense that the time is now for us to really get involved and pull our resources together as spirits in order to show the New World Order that we are awake and we will not accept their genocidal agenda, because they're killing us from every format you can think of, from food, water, the air, and even they're poisoning our minds with the garbage they put on the radio and the TVs. So we're calling for an international strike of global proportions on April 15th, and let's see if we can send a message to the New World Order that we're not going to take it. We're in control, not them.
Yeah, I agree completely, Matt, and it's a shame, basically, that we haven't found a way yet to increase the numbers. But by using this United We Strike radio marathon and all our other initiatives we do have, we encourage people to join us. And I'm very glad that we are so far, already having first success. So, Matt, I'm very glad you explained to us what the purpose of United We Strike is. And as you said before, we will have much more program coming up, which will then try to put a light on it from their perspective. And so please stay tuned. It's going to be very interesting. And Mindy and Paul, which we lost due to technical issues, we will have her or have them on later on, or at the next time if we can't manage to get them back here on our show, which we are trying, obviously. So, Matt, I had the experience as well, from Switzerland, that I have seen people walking the streets and not looking up into the sky, not realizing that there are planes leaving huge trails behind them, as we call them, the chemtrails or prolonged contrails. And it's amazing. Even if you talk to them, I had once the experience, I talked to an older chap, and he said, well, have you ever seen those trails up there, and what do you think? Because they were crossing, like a symbol, a real X cross, in the sky. And he looked quickly up there and said, well, those are the planes from the holiday resorts, from Egypt, or because we are over here in Europe, or from the Mediterranean areas and coming back and so forth. And I said to him, do you really believe that? And then he really looked at me, and I hope I made him curious to think about it. But mass media is on the wrong side in this issue, because they. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, they are on the wrong side. What that's a good example of, Detlev, is you planted a seed in that man's mind that he will start questioning, well, is that really what I'm seeing? Too many people today walk around like zombies, and I know you encounter this every day. To me, they look like people. They speak like people. They smell like people. You can touch them, and they feel like people, but they're not really there. with all, and I can see this because with all the chemicals in the food that just destroys the brain, and you look at them, and all these non-pronounceable ingredients, and people just eat that up, and then they, eat their high fructose corn syrup laced with mercury, and the aspartame from the pops they drink, and the fluoridated water, and they're just mind numb, and they need people like us to poke them in the arm and go, hey, wake up, there's something up in the sky that's not right. And, what's odd is that we've become so used to these chemtrails that it's become normal to see, and people don't question it anymore. Like, I was watching, I'm a fan of No Reservations with Anthony Bourdain. It's a show on the Travel Channel. And they were showing they had a show last Monday where they came to the Pacific Northwest, which is where I am. And they did a scene shot of Portland, and in the sky you could see the chemtrails, and it's regular old chemtrails and people don't even notice that. But I noticed it on the TV.
Yeah, I mean, this is amazing.
Well,
Karen,
and when they're putting it into the animated programs like Cars and stuff, my husband had rented that recently and stopped it and came and got me and showed me how in the animated film they go out of their way to put in chemtrails. So little minds that see that don't think that there's anything wrong. And we also have to remember that over $200 billion a year is spent on public perception management.
Propaganda, you mean?
Yeah, well, brainwashing.
Yes. Brainwashing.
Well, that's exactly what it is. Oh, yeah, there was an article. There was an article on InfoWars I saw this morning that describes an insider at Fox News saying that they just make up news. They just make stuff up as they go along. And you can tell that's true because of the phony stories that they come out with all the time. Like, Osama bin Laden has this new tape, and he says you got to support Al Gore because he's trying to put a stop to global warming. That's just so phony. And so that's my and your tax dollars going to pay for your own brainwashing.
Yeah.
Wait, I didn't catch that. That's a new commercial I've missed. Osama been dead for so long, has come back again.
Oh yeah,
that's
that came
like
out.
Michael Rivera refers to him as Osama been dead.
Osama been dead for a while. Yeah, but that story came out last year, just prior to the Copenhagen meeting, I think it was. That Osama was saying we got to support Al Gore.
Oh dear. Yeah.
But
yeah, go ahead, Ned.
Well, it's just that the story that, emphasizes what Karen was talking about the $200 billion going to brainwash us, and it goes back to what you were saying about the media of putting out all these lies, Detlev. It's just another method of poisoning us along with the chemtrails.
Yeah, and isn't it strange? I mean, all these so-called terrorists, which are alarming Department of Homeland Security so much, they seem to be all, going in and out the Pentagon and meeting with U.S. officials, and this is even, it's even in the press and in the media. They're talking about this. Now, how can such a terrorist walk in and out of the Pentagon? Can you explain this to me?
Yeah, he's not a terrorist.
They've got the same type of security they had on 9/11, when the most surveilled building in the world, or one of the most surveilled buildings in the world, could not come up with any video footage to share other than 4 seconds with a round hole with no bags or baggage, no bodies strewn everywhere, that kind of Pentagon. And what we learned recently as well was that the building, that particular office that was hit, and the people who worked there were the ones who would know what happened to the missing $2.3 trillion that Donald Rumsfeld and Dov Zakheim said the day before that they were missing. The Pentagon is missing $2.3 trillion, so all of a sudden, whatever it was, hits that office where a lot of the records would have been, not to mention building number 7, where they had other CIA, FBI, and IRS documents that just went up in smoke.
Now, can you explain this to me? I mean, if if the U.S. administration is so much interested in securing the people, why haven't they installed a naked body scanner in the Pentagon? So they would have discovered this major Al Qaeda chap who is walking in and out of the Pentagon.
Well, his name probably isn't Anwar al-Awlaki. What's his name?
Yeah.
Adam Gadon, I think his name is.
Yeah,
sort of. Well, he doesn't need to go to through a scanner. He just flashes his CIA badge and walks right on in. Have lunch with the Joint Chief of Staff or Army of the Secretary. I think he met with, right, or something like that.
Yeah.
Or Secretary of the Army.
Yeah, and yeah, absolutely. So top officials. I mean, the top of the cream, if you want to.
I don't think I would refer to them that way. And also, it's going to be an ugly picture with all those partying, overweight people who are working in government going in and out of that building. I don't think even they could stand it.
Getting nuked every day.
Well, I found it pretty interesting that, I listen to Alex Jones once in a while. I mean, some of us do, don't we? And, he was trying to reach somebody at DHS, Department of Homeland Security, by phoning them, calling them on the landline. And there was, not even a real answer. There was an answering machine. He wanted to report some terrorists, like we just talked about, and no response. Can you imagine? They make this huge campaign in Walmart that you have to watch out and see and report and whatever. But then if you want to report, even somebody like Alex Jones, he doesn't even get on through.
It doesn't even get a live person. That's funny because they're pushing this terrorism threat thing down on through real heavy right now with the Say Something, See Something campaign, mobile guard towers going up in the Walmart parking lots, the TSA groping people and nuking people as they go through these scanners, and now Janet Napolitano, Secretary of, or she's the head of Office of Homeland Gestapo, comes out just after the Patriot Act fails to get reinstated. She comes out and says, yes, our terrorist threat is the worst it's been since 9/11, and all those Al Qaeda Americans like you and I, Karen, you don't count that if you're not American. All those Al Qaeda Americans are going to attack the government, and now they could be using biological or nuclear weapons. And I'm thinking, okay, so they're setting the stage up for another 9/11 event, and I'm thinking this time with all this scare and all this propaganda that we pay for is going to be so huge, it's going to melt people's brains. It's going to be worse than 9/11 by a order of magnitude, and I think preparing now is like we call for at United We Strike. Preparing yourself is probably a good idea.
Very much so. I think that a lot of those people in Egypt who actually were good people were caught unaware. They just did not anticipate this strike happening. They didn't think people would be out there protesting, and all of a sudden they're left. And as the days go by, they don't have money. They don't have access to money to the ATM. They don't have food or water. They have hungry children. And they don't see an end other than to try and get everybody to go home so they can feed their families, not even realizing that what they're doing is fighting for their own enslavement.
See, one thing I don't understand either is, the United States is fighting, or was fighting in Iraq and is fighting in Afghanistan and has interests in the Yemen. This is all due to protection of the homeland. Yeah, you don't want to have any terrorists from this region coming into the United States and do any harm. But I learned that the whole border towards Mexico is open. So there's no control there. There's no standing army there. There's no it's a small portion of fence but it has never really been finished in construction. And so, you know, you can just walk across the line from Mexico to the States. Is that correct?
That's true. And, you know, after 9/11, Congress said, okay, let's put money into our border security. They gave Border Patrol like $2 billion to beef up the border. You think they did anything in Mexico? No, they put that all in the Canadian border, where we got a whole lot of illegals coming from Canada. I suspect, you know, and they treat you just as horribly on the border now as they do in the airports. You hear about that poor lady who was strip searched because she didn't report that she had some raspberries in her car. Did you hear about that?
Oh,
they did a strip search and followed her on her private areas, and now so she's suing the two border guards. But you know, that's horrible that they do that at our borders with money that we give them, but they're just letting the illegals cross the border in Mexico. You know, we treat our friends up in Canada worse than we treat people, I mean, as badly as we treat people in the United States, I guess. And then the illegals just walk across that border that's non-existent on the southern side, and, you know, we're trying to prevent terrorism. Well, I don't think that's really the case.
I mean, this is incredible.
Well, I hadn't heard about that story, but I know that if we don't put a stop to it soon, it will be in all of the shopping malls and everything. So actually, it'll probably end up being good for us in terms of not supporting corporations, because I can't imagine wanting to go in and get strip searched so that you can buy some shoes at a mall.
You know, I was talking to a couple guys at work because I showed them the article, right, that was saying that the TSA is now going to be in shopping malls. And you know what the reaction was? I'm glad I don't go to the shopping mall. And I'm like, wait a minute, whoa, are you a slave? That's a slave's mentality. Instead of saying, that's not right, I don't want to be strip searched at going to the store to buy me a shirt. Instead of saying that, they're saying, well, I guess I won't go to the mall. That's the slave mentality we have in this country. And I work with people. I mean, that's a real story.
Well, I think
I've got
also,
one too.
Yeah, Karen, go ahead.
We were talking to a friend of ours and talking about the computers and the cameras that are built inside of the computers. When Alex Jones, I think it was last year, he talked about the teachers actually having access to watch the students when they went home. And sometimes the girls would have these computers in their bedrooms and be changing their clothes, and it really is just a total unacceptable, it borders on pedophilia if it's not downright pedophilia. And I was mentioning to one of our friends that these were built in some of the newer computers, and her response was, oh, well, you know, if they're watching me, I'm not really doing anything wrong anyway. They'll get bored quickly. And it's exactly what you were talking about, Matt.
Oh
yeah, that's slave mentality.
Yeah, I guess it's up to us to plant seeds in people's brains that says, hey, no, you don't have to live like that. You don't have to live under 24-hour surveillance. You can be free. Your mind can be free. All you have to do is think.
Yeah.
Well, and you know what else? People now are, in America, they're thinking that it's okay to live in families. You know, to live with roommates, a married couple to have one or two roommates because they can't live out on their own, or they're living with their parents alone.
Right.
All right, Mindy and Paul.
Yeah,
Hi,
Mindy.
we're back.
Oh, hi.
We've been talking to you for about 20 minutes or so, and we didn't know you weren't there on the other end.
When did we leave off? When did we lose that connection?
Almost immediately.
Oh, no. Oh, well, did you miss us?
Yes.
Well, we're back. We have no idea where to join back in, so...
Yeah, we dropped...
Where you are.
We dropped you at about 12:15-ish our time, so at the 15-minute mark is probably where you guys left off.
Okay.
Do you remember? What were we talking about? We were just flying through this. We're just celebrating this information.
I can't remember because we...
Yeah, we jumped in. We've been trying to cover for you. So actually, if you're back online, we'll be happy to bow out and let you finish up the Transformation Chronicles all on your own, because we've all covered here as much as we could And we're happy that you're back online.
Yeah, but you will only have 15 minutes left, you guys.
15 minutes left. All right. And we have no idea what we talked about 15 minutes in.
Well, you will find your topic easily.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Okay, we're
Whenever
going.
you're ready.
Okay, you go ahead.
I think we're on.
Okay.
And welcome back to the Transformation Chronicles. I think the powers that were really want to disrupt our broadcast because we're giving you good news and we're telling you the other half of what's going on. Every media is going to tell you the bad thing. They'll just describe it. What we want to do here on the Transformation Chronicles is talk about the other side. You know, there's a thing called the yin and yang. And Eastern communities really think that it's always in balance. And when it goes out of balance, that's when we get sick. But you have to remember that when you see all this evil that's happening and taking place, you know, it's being balanced by forces, other forces. So just try to look for those other forces, and if you look hard enough, I think you'll find it.
Well, that's an interesting thing, looking for them, because that reminds me of how so much what we need to look for is in the subtleties, and how we have been conditioned, certainly in this culture in the United States. I can't say if it's true, but I would guess that it's also true, at least in most of Europe, and probably parts of South America, is that we're conditioned to have all of our information be so sensationalized, sound bites and loud noises and violent actions to get your attention, and really where the synchronicities lie, where we really start to see some of the important truths and messages are in really, it's a subtle and simple.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're often drowned out by the quick movements and things that are moving around. I don't know where we got when we left. I really want you to know about, excuse me. I really want you to know about collectiveevolution.com.
We probably did cover most of that, I would imagine, in the first 15 minutes, but maybe you could wrap up where you were kind of summing up.
I was just summing up that we've run into, quite synchronistically, 5 young men in their early 20s who are stepping up and looking out for the collective human consciousness. And I think we'll write something up and put it on Pinecone Utopia. We have a blog spot.
Yes, we do. pineconeutopia.blogspot.com.
And we'll put their names up and where to find them. But I think it's really wholehearted. When I saw the video, I just wanted to call them and say, where have you guys been? We've been waiting so long. God, you waited till the last minute to come in here.
Yeah, in the midst of all the bad news and all the horrifying revelations of the agendas of the powers that were, it's not so easy to find the good news and to see the equal balancing force for good, like you were just talking about, Paul, with the yin and the yang. And we have to know that all of the things that seem to be really horrifying and not for the good of beings on the planet are equally balanced by forces that are.
Right. And some people are just popping forth. The FBI former chief officer Ted Gunderson today, I heard him earlier, and I've seen his videos, coming forth and confronting Congress on his video to actually do something. I think, there's balancing forces, and you need to remember that. We're alive with the power of love, and the power of love is the most powerful force on the earth. It's the thing that powers their side, too.
Let me share this quote that I came across yesterday, I can't recall where, from Jimi Hendrix. When the power of love will overcome the love of power, the world will know peace.
That's pretty good.
I love that.
Yeah.
So where do you want to go next, Paul? We've got about 10 minutes left, and we're talking about the good news of so many people stepping forward to do what's right now. It's a real sign that we as consciousness are transforming to a more expanded range of perception, of inclusiveness.
Right. In order for that to happen, a lot of the institutions that we're used to, that we depend on, are not going to be very, very functional with all the things that are happening. But when you see that, you can really look at it as a sign of a rebirth and something that's coming in. I always think that we're moving into the time of the logical absurdity. Like the size of the store has reached its logical absurdity. The brainwashing effectiveness of TV is so obvious to anybody that steps outside of it that it's absurd. So we've reached the time of the logical absurdity when people are going to be ready to throw these things down. And that's good news right there. It may cause a little suffering, but it's good news all in the end. I'd like to go back to this story that I think has got to be a great metaphor. The story about the Brazilian supermodel, Gisele Bündchen. She recently made a bold move of publicly denouncing conventional sunscreens. She says, "I cannot put this poison on my skin. I do not use anything synthetic." Now, I don't think that Gisele Bündchen is, I have no idea whether she is sent here to liberate us from our institutions. Who knows? But this statement, of course, here's some other caveats. One thing, she does have her own company that makes natural products, suntan. And two, some publicists afterwards chimed in and said, well, she didn't really mean that. It was like a translation error. I don't know. Our experience with living in Brazil for a while, they're the most honest, candid people on the face of the earth. And she was probably just expressing a sincere opinion. And, well, anyway, it's made its way into the news. And if people follow the story, Bündchen's comments naturally sparked the wrath of so many so-called experts who quickly defended sunscreen as a necessary intervention to prevent skin cancer. Head of dermatology at Brazil's National Cancer Institute, for instance, immediately began making bizarre allegations that sunscreen is of fundamental importance for preventing cancer, even though no evidence exists to back such claims. And it seems like it was never meant to be a cancer preventative. Sunscreen was to keep you from burning. And they find that U.S. Center for Disease Control and Preventative found that roughly 97% of Americans are contaminated with oxybenzone, a toxic sunscreen additive that is linked to allergies, hormone disruption, cell damage, and low birth weights. According to the International Agency for Research on Cancer, sunscreens actually cause skin cancer rather than prevent it. So I like the fact that this is bringing this out in the open. And it also, there has to be several levels of, there has to be so many levels. Here, it's coming out in that sunscreen, which seems to be, sounds a lot like chemtrails, don't do anything to prevent cancer. They probably cause it. So there's a lot of things going through my mind as now this is coming out in the open. Maybe we'll get results on somebody disclosing chemtrails. Actually, if we go back to Cliff High's predictions.
But we have 5 minutes, so you'll need to wrap.
Yeah, I just want to do that.
Okay, go right.
Cliff High from Half Past Human. The way I interpreted one of his predictions, and he could write me a nasty email if I'm misinterpreting it. He writes it in a vague, kind of ambiguous way, probably on purpose. I'm sure everything he does is on purpose. And this is the way I interpret it. He said that there's going to be a major press conference, and I assumed a presidential press conference, and the president would be interrupted by a high-ranking general who would make announcements about potential dangers presented by the rays of the sun. I think he predicted this for March, so I'm looking for the fact that too many people are starting to wake up to chemtrails. They're going to have to do something, that there might be some kind of announcement coming forward at that point.
Well, thanks for all that. Let's end the show, since we're down to our last couple of minutes, by talking about how in the midst of all this bad news, and we've been able to highlight some good news. Sorry to all of you who missed the 40 minutes of the news we delivered to you, right, to our room, our empty room. But anyway, in spite of all that other good news that you didn't get to hear, what we can do. Maybe just some tips for all of us who are struggling to stay in an energetic state of love and out of fear, which becomes harder and harder the more information that streams in to us through our computers, those of us who are spending quite a bit of time on the internet looking to find out what's going on and educate ourselves. So,
well, if you take a long view of this whole thing, all there is love, and we're infinite consciousness. So we're not going to die, nothing's going to change, it's all infinite consciousness. Now, for some reason, infinite consciousness has decided it wants an experience of a duality. Black against white, good against bad. I mean, not that it couldn't have created us totally perfectly sane, or perfectly formed without this experience, but for some reason we're going through it. And we're going through it as infinite consciousness, and we can't be destroyed. So that's what I'd like you to just keep in mind. Don't be afraid. Play it. It's a game for us to experience. And every time something's presented to you, rather than saying, "Oh, why is this me?" say, "What am I meant to learn by this? What can I do?" That's
a really good approach to take.
Oh, okay.
Lessons come through hardships. And
visit us on our website.
Oh, yeah. Stay in touch with us through pineconeutopia.blogspot.com and email us at thetransformationchronicles@gmail.com. You can also contact us through the website.
But if you find good news items, or look at see the bright side, let us know and we'll announce it on the next show. Thank you very much, Karen.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here with all of you today. It's a little bit of time we got to spend with you, and thanks to all of you who are doing such great work out there. It's a great sign of what's to come.
Right.
Yeah, thank you, Mindy and Paul. That was wonderful that we still made it, although we had a little technical issue in the between, but we managed, and we will have you back soon. So just to give us again your website, please.
It's a blog spot. It is pineconeutopia.blogspot.com.
So if folks are interested, visit the website of Mindy and Paul, and we'll learn a lot more, and we will make an announcement when you will be back on our show again. So thanks a lot, and we will be going into the next break, and we'll be back afterwards with stunning new guests, so stay tuned, please. And thanks again, Mindy and Paul. So see you later.
Thanks to all of you.
Thank you, Detlev.
Bye.
You're listening to UnitedWeStrike.com radio. Don't buy, don't comply. That's why. UnitedWeStrike.com radio.